What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about 3 things that quarterbacks should not do. So these are 3 common mistakes that I see every day working with quarterbacks, and these are some of the things that you guys don't want to do and don't want to bring into your game. So I hope this video gives you guys some value. Now, also, fellas, if you're a quarterback and you want to improve your football IQ, you want to get better reading coverages, and you want access to all of the drills that we do broken down in specific categories, check out that very first link in the description, fellas. It'll take you to our website where you can become either a Platinum, VIP, or Gold member. What you would get access to is over 150 quarterback drills. So we have drills by quarterback mechanics, all organized. It's like a specific app almost. It's like a Netflix for quarterbacks where we have all the quarterback drills organized. These are all of our mechanics drills right here. Then we have our footwork drills. We're going through progressions. And then you guys will get access to 250 plus coverage breakdown videos, all organized. So we talk about cover 1, cover 0, cover 2, cover 4, all the RPO plays, and passing concepts. So check out that very first link in the description. It's exclusive content. There's over hours of content all the way built into this website, all organized. So I hope we get you guys on that soon. Very first link in the description. Let's get started. So first mistake here, let's watch this throw from Mac Jones. And Mac Jones is a very talented quarterback, but this is going to be mainly a mechanics tip with your lower half. So what a lot of guys like to do is that we emphasize a lot, especially I do, I emphasize the wide base, right? But there's obviously a gray area where you don't want to get too wide, where your back leg is too wide outside your frame, because you're not going to be able to transfer your hips and transfer your weight, and your hips are going to lock out. So you see the top of this drop here from Jones, when he lands, you see, and I actually like his weight distribution. He's got like 70% of his weight on that back leg, very light on the front leg, especially on a shuffle drop. That's how you want to transfer weight. But the only issue I see with this is you see how far his back leg is from his back shoulder, right? So this is almost like an overstride with the back leg. You can overstride with the back leg. Now, the issue with this is that when you go to transfer weight, yeah, you might transfer weight to this front leg because he has about 70% of his weight back, but that back leg's going to trail behind. So you see when he goes to throw, that back leg staying behind. Now, when that back leg stays behind and we're not rotating externally, my front hip's going to lock out. And when your front hip locks out, that's when you tend to lean out of the throw with your front side and you swing your front side out of there. Because as a quarterback, you're a rotational athlete. You got this like axis down your back and you're taught to rotate right down that axis, not throwing with my arm. It's all about weight transfer with my legs and hip drive. But when your front hip locks out, you're solely throwing with just about your legs, and then you're going to have to get your upper half involved. Now, Mac Jones normally doesn't do this. When he's in the pocket, his base is real clean. This is just one of those throws, right, where quarterbacks, especially coming off the third step, coming off that shuffle, they tend to get real wide with that back leg, and that can sometimes cause some issue with your mechanics. So now you see when he goes to throw here and he rotates, that front hip ain't open up. It's staying locked out. So what's he going to do? He's going to lean out of it with his front side, and you see the plane that he's able to get because this back leg trails behind, so his shoulders are above his hips. This throw has a lot of velocity on it, but he could get even more velocity if you close that back leg down just a little bit, because that will allow your front hip to go through. And then when your hips are able to rotate through, that's when you don't have to lean. I'm not saying it will fix your lean completely, because if you're a quarterback and you like to lean out of there with your front side, or your shoulders tend to come through before your back hip, which causes a lot of strain on your elbow, a lot of strain on your shoulder, that's something that you guys could probably do. So check yourself. Close that back foot down and maybe get like 75% of that weight on the back leg so you could transfer through and that front hip can open up. If you don't believe me, stand up, try to widen your base and open up that front hip. Now close your back leg down a little bit and try to open up your front hip. And you'll be able to open up your front hip much more, which gives you more torque if you stay disciplined with your upper half, right? So I'm not saying your feet want to be super close together. I'm not saying you want your back foot like right here by this hash mark. I'm saying you want it just underneath this shoulder or just outside. So I'm saying he moves his back foot to right here, still keeps the same knee band, still keeps the same weight distribution, and that ball's going to have a lot more velocity because his front hip will open up. So the main thing that quarterbacks should not do is don't overstride with their back leg. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Just because it'll cause a slight lean, it causes your shoulders to lead your hips, which can limit the velocity on your throw, okay? So now we're looking at this throw from Brady. This is just a fun throw where he's, throwing at a target coming across the field. But the main thing I want to focus on is the back foot not swinging way up, okay? So this is one of those things that I get a ton of questions on. So watch it full speed. Now you see how Brady, when he goes to throw this thing, how that back foot just stays pretty much just completely grounded. Now this is what I teach is the drag. I teach that you should be dragging the foot through. I don't like the legs swinging way up, and I'm going to tell you why. Usually what that means is it's a lack of hip rotation, right? So you see this clip, look at Brady's base and compare it to like Mac Jones's base in the last clip, right? Base is still decently wide, but that back foot's underneath his shoulder, right? So what's he able to do? That front hip is going to be able to rotate through, and you see how different this throw is from that Mac Jones throw. You see how his front hip is able to rotate through and that ball is trailing behind his hip. Now, when he goes to throw here, though, it's like there's a weight transfer, right? There's a weight transfer from the back leg to the front leg, but you don't don't need to swing this leg way out of there and swing it up almost like a pitcher. You can stay grounded. You can stay connected to that grass and be able to just pivot and rotate through, because that grass is your power source, right? So you don't need to leave it up in the air. You almost want to think of it when you throw, you're in like some kind of big hula hoop and you don't want to kick outside the hula hoop or bring this leg way up. You could just transfer, rotate that hip, open up that front hip, and if your upper half stays clean, that's how you get torque and that's how you get that separation. The reason why guys kick up this front leg is because they lean out with their front side. So what they'll do is they'll take this front elbow and it'll be swinging down, or they'll dip out of there with their head. And so what happens is, because your body's split down a midline, if your front side's swinging way out over here, what do you think your backside's going to do? It's going to swing out the opposite way, right? So it's like almost like a teeter-totter, right? So usually what that happens is with the same problem like Mac Jones, he'll lock out his front hip. Guys will love to lock out that front hip where either they're not transferring their weight. What they'll do is they'll strike the ground, but their weight will stay like this and they'll be almost falling back. So then they end up pulling out of there with their shoulders, which causes that release to fly and which causes that back leg to swing up. So the main thing that what it comes down to, the number 2 thing that quarterbacks should not do, is swing their leg way up like a pitcher. If you bring it up a little bit, not a big deal. I'm not going to be that guy that's like, oh, you brought your foot up like half an inch, right? That's not realistic to really work on if you could still get that same weight transfer and same hip drive. But the grass is your power source, and you want to try to stay as connected to this spot as you can, because that's where your power comes from and that's where you're able to create the most energy, okay? So let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Just make sure that back leg's swinging up. If you're a guy that swings that thing way up, check yourself. Check your hip drive. Check to see if you're actually transferring your weight to your front leg, which allows your front hip to go. And you got to stay disciplined with your shoulders and almost think like it's a linear force. Like everything's going a straight line, back leg stays connected. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Brady staying connected to that power source. Now we're going to be looking at this story from Russell Wilson this offseason, right? Again, another kind of like fun throw, not necessarily like in-game situation, but the mechanics still remain the same, and that's what we're focusing on. So he's going to be throwing this thing with some touch, and the reason why I wanted to include this example is because this is like the touch that you have to throw with. He's going to be throwing this thing over this like tent, like tarp area to a receiver coming across right here. So the thing about this is that we want to talk about how he's releasing this ball and where he's releasing this ball, okay? So when you guys throw with touch, the mistake that a lot of guys make is that when they throw, they treat it like it's the same throw. Now, when you release this ball, you see how he's in this nice, like opposite equal position right here. Front shoulders closed, lower half stays the same. You're still transferring weight. You're still letting your hips go through. But you see when he goes to release this thing, and you see it, just another brief touching point. You see how he brings this leg up, like how he brings it up just a tad? That's fine. I'm talking about guys who have this foot like way up. In regards to the last thing I talked about with Brady, I'm talking about guys who bring this foot way up here and this leg extends out and they're way off balance and they almost fall out of the throw. I'm not talking about this type of a leg kick with the back foot, because that's not an issue. His hips are still rotating through. His hips still end up coming through before the football does, and he gets to this position where the football is trailing the hip. Now, the third mistake, the third thing that quarterbacks should not do is when they throw, they should leave their follow through at like a normal spot. They should try to push the ball when they're throwing with touch. What you want to do when you throw a touch is you want to have a slight arc with that front shoulder, because if you guys are flat with your shoulders and then you try to snap your wrist at the top, you're going to end up pushing it like a shot put. You guys want to have that slight arc to your front shoulder so your hip drive can rotate you through. And the main thing is you want to snap at the top. You don't want to snap your wrist and push it up because your shoulders are level. When you're throwing with touch, you're throwing a deep ball, you want to make sure that you arc that front shoulder, you're transferring your weight, and you're snapping that wrist at the top to keep that same energy path, right? If he was just throwing like a dig right here, that energy path would be going straight around. Now we want that energy path to go up and down. So I just change the arc of my shoulders. I keep the same weight transfer. I keep the same hip drive. Ball still trails my hip like it's supposed to. Now all I do is I snap my wrist at the top, almost like you're shooting a free throw, grabbing like something out of the cookie jar off the top shelf, whatever it might be. But make sure that when I throw a touch, I throw a deeper throw, that I'm snapping my wrist at the top like a free throw. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Wilson. This is a smooth, clean throw. Great job throwing this thing with touch over the top. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I always appreciate the feedback. And then again, fellas, if you guys want over 150 plus drills, advanced QB and wide receiver drills on my website for platinum and VIP members, and 250 plus coverage breakdowns for all members on my website, check out that very first link in the description. Really advanced content that's really going to help you guys out, especially at the quarterback position. Hope you guys can check that out soon. Very first link in the description. I'll see you guys next time.